Yeah,
Because I'm
yeah.
just trying to understand some of the Greek here.
Okay.
So I don't want to enter into it. I'm trying to find out one thing, one question.
Okay, well, Monica will answer with her version, and then I'll go back to my version.
Okay, when we had that triangle here, that support right here, when we broke it, I would be entering probably somewhere in this neighborhood. Right now we are breaking the previous low, so that's a very good indication that if we enter somewhere here, we should be getting our pips soon. And now I see that we have another target right here, which is good.
Is that because Bernanke's vote?
Actually, yeah, he is going to speak around 10 o'clock, if I am not wrong about it. And if he does, then depending on what he will be saying, we will see the price either going down very fast or going up very fast. I don't know whether he started, maybe he already started.
It's only 9:30.
Yeah, but sometimes he just, says something and then people just react to it right away.
Depends on what they have for breakfast.
Yeah.
Okay, so the answer about when to get in, Monica answered with her version of, the close below her trend line. What I want to do here, though, also is look at this U-turn. This big U-turn as a possibility of a farther target. Okay, so we're now just coming up to the initial target. And you see, that break, by the way, Monica's break coincided with breaking the 786, too, on that swing. And yeah, if I had been trading this, I would have had more of this set up in advance. But you see, once again, all you had to have on the chart in order to have those targets was this low and this high. So it's not like this is after the fact. So we have an initial target here, and we have a second target down here, which is a precise overlap with a retracement line. So that's a relatively strong target. Be significant if that's broken through as well. Now my answer on the entry, by the way, as I was saying before to the folks in the back, multiple time frame trigger, I would take the 50-14 here. In other words, we were below the 0 line on the 50 CCI, and the 14 crossed back below as we bounced off the cluster, the resistance cluster that was right there at that time. The program's updated itself, so we're not seeing it this second. But I would only take that provided the 15-minute was giving me something as well, and it was giving me a bounce off the -100 line. So that is a multiple time frame trigger. The fact that it came off a resistance cluster didn't, and by the way, what was really important is that it bounced off that 786 that was here at the time. Everyone remember that? Yep. But when it went back up, it didn't make it to the opposing 786. Or if you had trend lines showing the triangle, it didn't make it to the other side. Instead, it got stopped dead at the resistance cluster, and then you had the multiple time frame short triggers. So that's where the multiple time frame stuff comes in too with the CCI, is this and this was telling us that there was enough oomph to break that support at that point. The fact that price just only could retrace before that to our resistance cluster that was already there based on the definition of a downtrend. Remember that? It was low to high, projected from low. Well, that told us that we were good to go. Let me get this guy out as it breaks. Oops. And what else do we have going on here? Well, we have the smaller swing. This is kind of interesting. No, it's not really an overlap. Never mind. I was going to say something that this target, the 1272 off the larger swing, is kind of close. It's not really an overlap. It's 6 pips away, but it's kind of close to the second target off the smaller swing. So you got an overlap there. Could give you a little bit of a pullback, or maybe not. I'm more into this secondary target on the 15-minute because that is an overlap. Retracements of a low to high and extensions of a prior swing. By the way, before I forget, after lunch today, and please let me know if you're going to be leaving, earlier than the end of the day, but after lunch, I want to make sure that anyone with a laptop here who's running this work, I want to make sure I have a couple of minutes, at least a couple of minutes with each of you. If you have questions, if you have program questions, if you have issues with setting up charts or any of that, please see Linda and make an appointment to get together with Perry. But if you have any questions about running this work, I would prefer it, if you'd like, that you don't leave without us having a little one-on-one time. And that way, and it could be individually instead of me trying to answer, 8 or 9 questions at the same time from different people. That's fine. We can have a relaxed lunch and sort of do that afterwards. So let me know if you'd like that. Remember, once we're all back home, you are welcome to send me screenshots of your charts too. You can send me a screenshot of your charts, and you have a chart, and you can be like, is this right? Is this wrong by your standards? And I'll definitely give you some commentary on it. Also, you got an email from Linda a couple of weeks ago. We're going to start using the chat room next month. I'm going to start out when I get home and get some rest. I'm going to do a little schedule. Starting next month, well, and can talk again. Going to do a little schedule, and we'll have maybe a day or two a week where we'll set aside some time and do some chart review. And we'll schedule a couple of days of live trading. That may eventually segue into like a service, where we're full-time chat room. We'll see. For now, though, what we're doing is only open to workshop attendees, and it's because we want to all be on the same page and speak the same language about this. And you'll be receiving a schedule about that. So I don't want you to think that we're going to all go our separate ways today, and I'm like, bye, if you want any help with anything. So meanwhile, we are making this, target here, getting there anyway. And do you have anything you want to talk about? No? Okay. Let's look at some of our other stuff. Our Canadian broke out. See, we made the 15-minute targets on that Canadian. Okay, everyone clear on where that target came from? Extension of high to low. Okay. And I heard a couple of people talking before about what's with expansions and extensions and la and all that and the other. Well, the thing is that it gets really confusing because there are standardized terms for these things in Fibonacci talk. But each program, a lot of program developers seem to want to make it sound like they invented something, so they'll call it by a different name. And it gets really confusing.
Extension and projection is the same thing.
No, they're not. Not in the least. Yeah, that's the. I'll show you the difference. The projection, a projection and an expansion are the same thing. Projection and expansion. In Fibonacci Trader, the tool I use for symmetry is called expansion lines. An expansion uses 3 points of data. So, for instance, here this was low to high projected or expanded from new low. That's an expansion or a projection. Okay? A retracement uses 2 points of data. It is when you take one low and one high, or in this case one high and one low, connect them. The retracements are the fractions between that high and that low. 50% in this case, 618 is 0.618. They're percentages of that swing. An extension is a multiplier of a swing. So, and also uses 2 data points. An extension is what if the swing goes farther or extends. So in this case, it was low to high times 1.618. It's like a retracement, but it's larger than the range of the whole swing. But like I said, it gets confusing because like if you use e-signal charting, for instance, if you use e-signal charting, not just their data, but their charting, what I call and what is acceptable in the field as an expansion or projection, they call that an extension. Then there's TradeStation where if you try to get it to do an extension, it crashes. So, they call that a blue screen of death. So yeah, the terminology can seem a little confusing. The thing is, it's only 2 tools that we're using for the price work. It is the expansion tool, or you could call that a projection, but in this program it's called expansion, which is fine. And it's the retracement tool, which does our retracements and our extensions. Because if you look at how to set up the edit screen on that, you're putting in fractions, 0.618, 0.786, and you're also putting in multipliers of 1.272, those are the extensions. And by the way, I have the color codes. I have them different colors primarily because when they cluster together, once you learn how to use this stuff a lot, or maybe you do already, but once you get used to a certain set of color codes, use whatever colors you want, you'll be able to glance at the lines, and when you see a whole bunch of different colors there, you'll know the strength of that area, because without even reading the numbers, because you'll be able to go like, well, red, it means it's this kind of thing, and green, it means it's that kind of thing. And I mean, people even come up with names for them. Christmas tree cluster is red and green, you know, good and plenty. They have their names for different combinations. The colors I use are colors I used to learn from Carolyn, because, and she has specific reasons. I mean, symmetry is where you want the marker to stop, so it's red like a stop sign. Extensions are usually where you take profit, so it's green for money. I'll rework those eventually because I really want to put more emphasis on the 786. I don't like it being the same color as relatively minor stuff, but you can come up with your own color scheme, obviously, but I do suggest it. I really do suggest it because, to me, it's really not that great when you look at a chart and you have an expansion. You have an expansion, and it's overlapping a 618, and it's overlapping an extension from a prior swing, and it's just blue. If you could just glance at that and see red, green, blue, you'd go like, okay, well, that's stronger than the blue over here. It's just a little tip, just a trick. Okay, now we're taking out the sim resistance from there, I mean, beginning to anyway, on the pound. And you see, oh, that's the wrong chart. I think we made the 15-minute initial, see? And like I said, that would be a good place for a pullback or pause. Okay, is anyone going to shoot me if I look at, oh, you have something, go ahead.
Speaking about that British pound, it looks like we are going to get a really nice hammer, indicating that we may have some pullback, or we may get a doji because we didn't close yet. We have still like, what, couple minutes to close? But it's really, like, I would say this is a really strong candle when it comes to reversal. And also on the Canadian, looks like we are getting a railroad track. Take a look at that.
15 minutes, Canadian? Yeah, well, with you it would be 15. Oh yeah, but at that extension.
Yeah.
Let's get rid of this. And I should change that over to candles. I really have to make a new template so I can. Oh yeah. Cool. Well, now what I'd want to do here too is take a look. I'll use my expansion tool, high to low. Remember that test about where we reversed. I could use this little one. See, this is like a double swing here. But I can tell just by eyeballing it that that definitely broke already. So this is like a compound swing. And I'm going to take that and project it from the new high. And you see we're just now coming up against that. That would help to define whether or not we're forming an uptrend that's going to hold or whether we're going to smash through it, in which case we are looking to the short side. But on this chart also, problem for me with short side is we're above the plus 100 line. You could get a 100 line bounce here.
So that could be leg one.
Well,
If the situation turns into consolidation right now, if we are not going to break the support and we go up, that will be leg one and consolidation, and I would expect to see leg two. However, we have to watch this level right now and see what happens to it.
What percentage retracement is that of the major swing going up?
This
50, I would say around 25 or 20.
But you know that wasn't done with the retracement.
No, I realize
Okay,
it.
let's
That
take a
was
look.
done to determine the symmetry.
That was the symmetry, right? Yeah, I just want to make sure that. Yeah, well, it's between 236 and 382.
23, right? I was close enough.
Yeah, 20, let's say 25. You're probably right, exactly. Yeah, I didn't jump in there with the retracement tool because I knew it wouldn't give us an overlap. You know.
You come down to .786 before you're concerned, is that right?
No, I mean, if I'm looking for more of a bounce here, my problem right now with this chart is, well, we have the symmetry here, which is holding at the moment. But for another buy trigger, maybe on a 3-minute I get a buy trigger. Here we're kind of floating in outer space, the CCI. I would prefer to come down to a support level where this is actually giving us a bounce right at the 100 line. Okay? This is fine. I mean, this really is more about just maintaining the uptrend. To me, it wouldn't exactly be a buy trigger. Again, I'd have to step down to my 3-minute. 3-minute might be giving us a wonderful trigger. If this breaks, I would definitely believe that the railroad tracks are going to kick in more. It's not going to be congestion. I wouldn't.
Go on down.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to see it go below 618 if I was going to be looking for a buy. And it also really depended on. But you know, that's there's no sim. Well, there might be other sim actually. If I go back and use this whole swing, you see this high was taken out. See? So I could actually see this as one whole swing. Project from here, and you see it is at the 618. Okay? The 786 is more something where I consider it a holdout if I'm looking at shorts. By the time we got down there, I would certainly be looking at shorts. That's the holdout between price and the targets, which will be down here. See?
Yes, okay.
Your terminology of being symmetry,
Mm-hmm.
that's an expansion.
Yes. Yeah.
You're kind of get confused as you say them back and forth.
Okay, well, there's a reason why I do that also. Symmetry is using an expansion, let me confuse you more, against the direction of the trend. In other words, I'm looking at assuming this as an uptrend, I'm looking at corrective moves, high to low from new high. That's symmetry, the symmetry of the uptrend. It uses the principle of expansion, but another way to use expansions, which I generally do not do, would be to work in the direction of the trend, and that would be like this. Similar to how Monika projects a target, but I like how she does that better. That would be if I went with low to high, projected from a higher low to get a target. Okay? A lot of people do that to get targets. That is an expansion or projection in the direction of the swing, the direction of the trend. Assuming an uptrend, where would this leg, end if it's going to be similar? The only time I do that, though, is when it's a two-step. That's why I was going into how the two-step, the use of the tools for the two-step is the opposite of how I do symmetry using an expansion. Do you see what I'm saying? It's a different direction. In other words, what's most important to me is that the symmetry of this uptrend be maintained. That is by taking a move against the direction of the trend and projecting from the high. If I were to use the expansion tool to do a regular expansion, I'd actually take here to here and project upwards from here for the next leg. Target up here. I'd rather do that with the extensions by taking a swing like this and extending it upwards. I find those to be more accurate. Meanwhile, the sim's still holding. So let's see what happens there. Let me look at the 3-minute just to see if that's giving us a buy trigger or what it's giving us. See, ideally, if that's not going to hold on the 15-minute, let me just get rid of this old mess. These are the old targets. Ideally, this is another good reason there are multiple time frames. This is not giving us a buy trigger yet. As a matter of fact, this looks like the example I gave you in the workbook where I said, what's this? And it wasn't one. It wasn't a trigger. It's not giving us a buy trigger yet. Ideally, if this 15-minute support is going to break, the 3-minute will not give us a buy. A buy here would have to be, at this point, a 50-14 with a 14 crossing back above 0. If this is going to break, we'll get a 50-34 short here instead. You can actually begin to set up symmetry resistance here. But it would be kind of far from current price because it would be the swing before the high, low to high, projected from new low. And that's going to be too far to help us with a trading decision right now. If we get another little corrective zigzag in here, we can use that low to high from a new low. But I don't have that yet. So this one's on hold for me for the moment. Okay? Anything interesting?
Actually, there is something interesting. Let's say on the Canadian dollar, if we go down, my support is right at 1183, and I see that Mark has 1180, which is pretty close.
Well, 1186 is stronger.
69?
886.
86, okay, 86.
Could you darken your moving average line, please?
Yeah,
sure, I was-
okay, 86, 85, so see like we are pretty much at the same spot here.
Now, where are you getting your,
Okay, if you draw MKS3 on this currency pair right now, you will see that we are very close to where MKS3 is, and that's where my support is at this point. So, I don't know, maybe we can draw it so everybody can see it.
which chart you're going to draw that MKS on the 15?
On the 15 Canadian, yeah.
Here. You want to do that here? I didn't have the name on that one. And the other one, because I changed all of them yesterday. But yeah, you're trying to be smart, huh? There's a lot I don't know about the program. It's starting to break.
Okay, so this is our MKS trend line for the Canadian dollar. Now I am going to extend it. And that's where my support is. It actually lines up with this line. If we get to roughly this area, which is my 85 or so, that's where the support is. Now you can see it. We are on the same page
It
again.
would be really interesting. When Monica and I have worked together, it's always just been online, and we're not usually, I mean, we're comparing notes on the numbers, but we haven't actually been able to look at each other's charts all the time. And I just thought it would be interesting if it turns out that we discover here that we can consider her trend line part of my cluster. You know, that would be an interesting development. Yeah. Yeah, it would be, because I've seen that now several times over the last few days.
Now, would her trend line be more dynamic because it's at a slope as opposed to your horizontal?
Well, but it depends on at what point in time it's hit. It's always, at any given bar, it's going to be at a specific number. Something for us to research. Mhm.
We will have a homework.
Oh, boy.
So, Monica, you would enter your short at what, 5 tick?
Well,
The trend line?
Well, what happens? We have this railroad track, which looks pretty strong to me. However, because of this support, I would wait to see a break below that line. Yeah. You could like really enter at the closing price of this candle, but then you have to see how many pips you can make, and in this case that would be like what, 6 or 7. You have to decide whether you want to go for it or not. If you have 5 pip spread, then well, going for 1 pip, not a very good idea.
Well
Now,
said.
are you concerned at all about that high towards the left of the page there? Right there? Yeah.
No.
Okay. You don't look at that?
Well, this high can also act as a support right now, but we have plenty of room to make our 10 or 20 pips here. So I wouldn't be really concerned about it. Unless you go for 80 pips, then I would be concerned about it.
And this is interesting, too, because Monica was just saying that, yeah, you could get in here, just like I could get in technically on the sim break, because that's telling me that the uptrend is meh. But my version of that is the 15-minute 100 line here. 15-minute 100 line tells me that even if I get a short trigger right now on my 3-minute, which I don't have yet, I don't have a 50-34 cross, which I would need, the 100 line is going to come up. And if this is going to have more up, it's going to bounce off the 100 line. Some people, as I mentioned, I think the day before yesterday, some people would take shorts when this is angling down towards the 100 line. I found those to generally be just so scalpy that it's not worth doing. So for me, I need the 100 line break, which probably would coincide with Monica's close on the other side of her trend line.
Does it matter that before that 10 o'clock news, I mean, you or Monica, that is going down right now, and gold just rallied $8 the last half hour. Does that matter?
I don't look at cross-market comparison stuff, yeah.
Does
Yeah.
that matter at all to Monica?
Okay, what happens? Usually, if I am expecting some kind of a news, I take a look at the candle that is happening just before the news, the current 15 minutes candle. On the British pound, it's bullish candle right now. On the Canadian dollar, it's bearish. Most of the time, this will be the direction of the news. But today, it's not really a news, that's just a speech. So I am not sure how this is going to impact what we are going to see on the charts, because somebody is just going to make some comments. This is not something that we can put our hands on. Like, traders don't know, like, we are not getting any verified numbers or anything like that. But this is a small indication that we may be looking up for the pound and down for the Canadian dollar. Small indication, but then we still have to, yeah, that's what, but we still have to follow what we see on the charts. We have to see our support and resistance and go with it.
Yeah, I'm just saying that fundamentally that thing
Yeah.
is going on.
You said, yeah, what you said worse though was a minute ago where you said, I'm just thinking, and I'm not saying because it's you.
I know, I just see how you react.
Yeah, I say the news, it's going to be on the charts. And the worst thing you can do is start thinking, especially about individual trades. If you want to factor in a news-related item into your trades, write that into your trading plan, so that when it comes up, the decision, the thought has been done already. Not, well, I think I'm going to skip this one because, and then darn it, it worked out anyway. You know, consistency requires a plan. And I don't think we quite broke that, even my sim yet, because what's the low? 1185, and that's 1186. Yeah, so we'll see.
You'd wait for the close, this case, wouldn't you?
Me?
Yeah, break the system.
No, I'm with a 3-pip break. Has to break by 3 pips.
Close or just go down?
No. I try to means I look for a close on a daily chart. Daily charts are higher, unless it's a dramatic break, you know. But there's sometimes when you'll pierce a key level like a 786 or a sim level, and it'll just spring right back through it. You know, like you'll get some ridiculous candle where it's, you know, all the way. And so that I don't consider a break. But intraday, a break is a break. Would anyone mind if I peeked at the Russell for 1 second, just to see? Yeah. Oh no, you're going blind. Let's just see what's going on there. That's our daily. Oh, we broke the res sim. Okay. Well, you see, this guy updated that extension. If you remember yesterday on the 15-minute, was right. You know, that's where it stopped. So we bounced and we actually gapped up, and there's not that much to do here to set up. I mean, there's obviously a pattern on the 3-minute of higher highs and higher lows. Yeah. Yeah, that was price and time.
The S&P is bouncing today.
So yeah, well, we can take a look at that also. But okay, I was moving my charts around too much. Where is my 3,000 volume? There it is. Okay, you see what's setting up on the 3,000 volume? 3,000 volume is the and that is the equivalent to the 15-minute on the currencies for my CCI stuff. We're setting up a 100-line bounce. See, 100-line bounce. So I would just be looking for shorter term to confirm it. And you have longs coming up there.
But that's not a happy underlying balance for you.
No, but I don't use that. I use the volume charts for, so let's see what the 500 volume and 1,000 volume are doing for the Russell. You can't use volume charts in currencies because you're getting data from many different sources and it just doesn't work out properly. But with this, all right, here, well, instead of a 100-line bounce, you're getting a possible 50-34. So you got the 34 part of it. 50 would have to close above 0, and you're getting a 50-14 here. So we're getting long triggers, no matter how you slice it, see? And obviously before I actually took a trade, I would have to do the fib work. And this You know, one of the good things about this program too is the fib work. I could have done the fib work basically before the market opened, projecting from this high, and then as soon as we gapped up, all of it would have updated to here. Anyway, so, because we'd have a new high.
Did you say 3,000
I use it the same way you'd use a 15. Yeah, it's kind of equivalent, but I like it best when it isn't, because when it's really equivalent, it means that the market is moving at a very languorous pace, and it's the whole point in using the volume charts is to get more reaction from the indicator. You know, when there's volume. Okay, we did break that 7, we're at your trend line.
Yeah.
Okay, and we're back to our Canadian dollar here. And we're challenging Monica's trend line. I still don't have a sell trigger either. I don't even have my 50-34, and we're above the 100 line here. So I don't mind stuff that keeps me out of a trade. That's fine with me. As long as it's consistent in the process. How much would this hurt him? As long as it's consistent that I know why immediately, because it's in my plan. I don't have a trigger. I don't have a trigger. I don't have to look at it anymore. If I have to look at this though and go, well, I think that and maybe and that's no good. Now you're getting somewhere.
Yeah, I think that I would be selling. I would be selling.
At what point would you actually sell?
Well, since this candle is closing, I would be selling where we are right now. Whatever the price is, 11.78. Well, it will close in what, few seconds?
I thought I have 10:03. Is your time off?
I guess my time is out.
Yeah, that's what we're saying, but you know, it turns out we have different times on our computers for some reason.
Yeah, but I guess probably my computer is like a couple minutes off.
Oh.
Yeah.
You'd wait for the close usually, right?
Usually I wait for the close, but the current candle that we have, is that the 10 o'clock candle that you have right now?
Yeah, well, it's only 10:03.
Okay.
So we have 12 minutes left.
Well, anyhow. Yeah, I would sell.
You would sell now?
I would sell.
Okay.
I would sell.
I don't have a trigger, so I can't sell at the moment. See, I don't have a short term or a long term. For me to sell, I need to break that 100 line and have this cross the 0 line. 50.
Okay, so you'd be in at 81, or 80.
Yeah, roughly, probably it was closer to 80 or 79 because we went below that line, and that's where I would sell. And on that note, if you are asking me where I would put my stop, I would have my stop right, like probably 5 pips above that high. Because what happens, if this is going to go down, we may do 1, 2, 3s. That's why I would like to protect myself in case we do that. That's why I wouldn't have my stop right here, because if we do 1, 2, 3, then we'll go up and we'll go down. But if we go above this, I don't want to be in that short anymore, because that's not going to reverse our price.
And sorry, did you finish? Okay. And Monica mentioned that where she placed her stop because of the 1, 2, 3. I'd have 1, 2, 3 possibility. I'd have another way of doing that, which would be, get rid of this line to show you. The 1, 2, 3, let's say that started to form now. You see the swing into the high and down to here? That would be another swing up and down. Well, I like 1, 2, 3s where the swing up stops at a resistance cluster. So let's make one. I'll take my expansion tool, take the swing into the high, project from the new low, take my retracements, go from the high to the low. Okay, now notice how at this point you have a precise overlap of symmetry on the 618. If we make a new low, that's not going to hold because the 618 is a ratio, so it's going to diverge from the 100% projection. But the point is, I can place my stop right above here. I don't have a sell yet, you know, which is the difference, which is interesting. But if I were to get the sell trigger, I can place the stop here because, based on my belief, my observation of how this stuff works, this is what defines the rhythm of a possible downtrend. So if that rhythm of the downtrend is violated, I don't see a 1, 2, 3 happening. At least has to hold at the 786. But we have a nice cluster here, a nice overlap. So I would be comfortable placing my stop. I mean, if I really wanted to be conservative about it, I'd place it above the 786. But in practical purpose, I'd probably place it closer, right above this overlap, which will be in a different place if I get my trigger anyway. You know, no sense in thinking about the exact numbers because I don't have a trigger. Sure.
One thing that I want to mention here about the stop situation, this is actually a very good idea, because if we do 1, 2, 3, that's probably when the 1, 2, 3 will land. However, one thing that I noticed with the Forex market, we also like to go for double tops very, very often. And if you have stop, let's say here, it will take your stop and it will go down. That's why I would probably risk 5 more pips or so and, you know, keep myself safe.
And that's why, and so, you know what would happen to me? I'd get stopped out and then I get another entry. Is essentially what would happen. I mean, that's what happened yesterday in the morning. You know, is I got out and got back in, but my target was larger, so I make it up that way. It's, you know, as I say, it's 6 of 1 and neither here nor there.
You gave us one additional setup here, which I thought was quite often, the 50s, crossing the underlying.
Yeah.
That wasn't one of your basic 4 setups.
The 50 crossing the 100. Oh, you mean what I'm talking about on this chart? Actually, it wasn't in that section, but if you go to that thing where I have just the CCI on the page, 50 on the 15-minute, I talked about how once you break below the 100 line, you're in tentative short territory. So that in itself is not a trigger, but it lets me take a short trigger on the 3-minute. Okay?
Would you take it, so across of the 100 line is not a valid trigger
No.
on the 3-minute?
No, it's not a trigger on the 3-minute itself.
Permission on the 15-minute, one for-
It gives permission, yes, exactly. It gives permission there to put us into short territory. What is this? This is what happened to our pound. It took out the symmetry resistance. Where is our 15-minute on this? Okay, 15-minute, I really should be doing the symmetry on there because, you know, we came off the target on the 15-minute. And you see the pattern of lower lows and lower highs? If I try to do that on the 3-minute, I mean, I can, but it's going to look weird because I'd be taking this as a swing. You see this? And people, you know, you'd be right to say, well, how come that's the swing and it's not here, or from here is the low? If you step up in the time frame to the 15-minute, you get much clearer interpretations of where swing is. And remember, as I said yesterday, if it shows up on a higher time frame, if you can get a swing on the higher time frame to analyze, well, it's stronger than if it's just on the 3-minute. Okay, so we have symmetry resistance now. If we're still looking at shorts, which I would be on the pound, that's where it's got to stop. It's got to stop. The concept of a downtrend is violated if this stuff breaks or starts to break.
Also, isn't Monica's trend line now become a resistance line?
Yeah, and we can actually take some retracements. I'm doing the same thing I normally do. I just did it backwards. Normally, I talk about going from high to low and then highs in between. I just happen to take the first high first, but it's the same thing.
Monica, if that crossed your trend line, would you get out or would you let your stop?
Well, first of all, after we had that hammer here, I would probably see whether we can break that line, because this is my buy trigger. If I entered right at the close of that hammer, I would have my 10 pips, because we went more than 10 pips, at least on my platform. I didn't see the numbers here. I am not sure what was the closing price and the high here. I think it was 10 pips between the close and the high. And if we closed above the line with this hammer in mind, I would be buying.
I can't. To me, there's no buy there.
No buy.
Well, I still have my minus 100 line holding.
Yeah, but by the time we close above this line, your stuff may line up.
Yeah, it could be.
Yeah, so we will see, because right now I would not buy. I would not buy right now. Because we really, we
You have different targets, you're looking for
yeah, I am looking for 10 pips, and I can manage to get my 10 pips because I have small target. Yeah.
I'm just checking out to see how the 3-minute and the 15-minute compare here. Okay.
Monica, does your 10 pips include the spread?
Gentlemen,
Okay. Actually, sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. Most of the time, if I say that I go for 10 pips, I really get 8 because my spread is 2 pips. But sometimes if I see that the price is moving well and it's not going very slow, I would go for 12 pips, which means that I get 10 pips in my pocket. But I have to see action. If I don't see action, I just get out with 10 and have my 8 pips in my pocket. That's what I do.
but if there's action, you go crazy.
I guess you would like to know, right? I won't tell you.
Well, the 12 pips versus 10.
if I hear any really good gossip, I'll let you know, okay? Okay, back to what I'm seeing here too, though, is notice here on the 3-minute, at the moment, we're getting a little support at the -100 line on the 50 CCI. For this to really, for this resistance to mean anything, to have more down, I'm going to have to lose that -100 line again. So there might actually be, all right, well, no, maybe not. I mean, I'm still seeing down here, is what I'm saying. But this line would have to hold. We'd have to have a cross back above the 0 line for me to even start to think about longs. I don't have permission from either my 15 or my 3-minute to look long. Just like on the Canadian, I don't have permission to look short yet. So what I have permission to do probably is break out the vacuum cleaner and, you know, make sure I'm defrosting something for dinner. You know, that's how it is. But I'm actually seeing, you know, good short possibilities here still.
Is that in 3 minutes, you use it, the target, whether you can
They both have to be in agreement. Yes, they both have to be in, right. And right now what they're saying is they're both in agreement to the downside. They're, well, I'm sorry? Not to the upside, not yet, not yet. If we do close on the other side of Monica's trend line, it's quite possible that I'll start to see indications that way. I was just saying that I saw the beginning, an early warning with that -100 line holding here. If this closes and it's holding above the -100 line, that's telling me there's a possibility of, because you'll see it on the shorter time frame first, the -100 line holding. That's not an entry trigger. That's simply the beginning of a warning that we're going to get closer up to the -100 line on the 15-minute. Now, if it crosses on the 15-minute, as I put in the workbook, that would be a long territory, a place to look for longs. If I then get a long trigger on the 3-minute, then I'd be in. By that time, I'd also have support here on the 3-minute. I'd be able to take pullbacks within this uptrend and project from a new high. Right now, there are none of those. If I took high to low here and projected from the new high, it's been violated. So I have nothing telling me right now. I have no ability to build the symmetry of an uptrend, and my momentum indicators are still saying, kind of down. So I have nothing that lets me go long. But I don't have a short trigger right now either. I had short triggers earlier. You know, when we broke here, when we broke the triangle, this was my short earlier. Okay? And then the latest to get out here would have been the break of the -100 line here, would have gotten me out. But,
Getting close to a 0 line.
I'm sorry?
The last bump right there, when that gets close to a 0 line.
A -100 line. Well, it's in between now. It depends on when the candle's going to close, the bar is going to close.
A couple of ticks before that.
Yeah,
High right there.
right.
And then if you look at it on the 3-minute,
This is the 3-minute. Okay, I'm not, okay. Well, the thing is that very often when you have, like, look what happened here. You see, here we had the -100 line support. Sometimes, that's why this is tentative long territory. Because sometimes you're going to go up to the 0 line and then reject it again. Sometimes you're going to cross. So, but until you breach that -100 line, I can't look long. And the early warning would have been, well, let's see what happened back there. Let's see what happened when, for instance, where was this? Okay, you see what happened here? When we pulled off the minus 100 line, that's when we had this 50-34 cross on the 3 minute. So you had a little long. The early warning, though, was on the 3 minute that it held the minus 100 line. So that's what I was saying, where I was looking at here. If the long is going to develop, the first thing you're going to see is not this. It would have been this pulling up, and then you would have seen the possibility of a breach here. To me, this is still short, and now it triggered short. Okay? This definitely triggered short.
One thing that I want to mention about the Canadian dollar. I don't like the idea that my MKS line is becoming support right now. I really don't like that idea. Because that means that my short is not going well.
This one?
Yeah.
Well, this is the one that wouldn't let me go short. This is the one that,
Yeah, actually on my charts, actually I can see it better because when I draw the line here, maybe I am not connecting the highs very well, but the software here, the automated MKS system actually does it very well, and I can see that we are just, yeah, we are sitting on the line, and I would probably consider getting out because the 15-minute candle really didn't go that low. Actually, I mean, didn't close below the line right here, the previous 15-minute candle. Now we are going up, and also what I see on the 5-minute chart, we are holding a really nice support here. So I don't like it. I don't like the short.
Would you consider that to be a railroad track, candles at the bottom?
Yeah, those, well, no, we really didn't have any run in price. Like this one here, yes, I would consider that railroad because we went up. We had nice formation here, but this is not a real run. We just retraced a little bit. Yeah, but if you entered at the close here, you would get your 10 pips. But I didn't enter, I was too close to my MKS line. I entered here, which probably won't turn out well at this point. I still have to think about it, like I am minus what, 8-9 pips at this point. And I am hesitating to close the short because we still can do 1, 2, 3, but then if I get stopped out here, that will be just maybe too much for my pocket to lose at this point. So I will watch my 5-minute chart right now to see whether I should be getting out with minus 10 pips and just, you know, saying, okay, well, lost 1, 1, 1, right? So that's, I will watch the chart right now and I will tell you in a moment whether I would close the position or not.
yeah, well, just like I don't have anything definitive on the pound, the Canadian, it never let me look at shorts because again, it's the exact mirror opposite. We never broke the plus 100 line here. I'm actually setting up a long trigger here, 50.14. I'm concerned the same way I was concerned with the pound yesterday at the high. We're at the highs here, and there is a possibility of a 1, 2, 3, which would mean that if I took this long trigger, which has not triggered yet, but if I took it, we could see that same situation with a reversal at the 786 and then a breakdown. So this is a case where I would most likely wait. It kind of depends on what we have on the 15. I didn't have this chart set up because we weren't using it yesterday. But if I had other resistance here, let's look longer term, and we should really take a look at some timing. I'm going to go high to, okay, where is the low here? Here? Yeah. All right. I just want to see what kind of resistance we're up against to determine how key this high might be. That rhymes. All right, that broke the 618, just barely, but it did. How about extensions? I think that's where that reversed, isn't it? That broke. Not much more I can do here. That high is not as important as the high was yesterday on the pound.
Is there any timing?
That's what I'm going to look at. You know, but the problem with timing is we're not up against a level. But I mean, I can try. Let's take a quick look. The market is extended and it broke extensions, but it's not like we have something to time against. That's too far. Okay, let me put this on so I can describe what I'm doing and have both hands for the keyboard.
Because we're not supposed to
No, well, the thing is, no, a square is out of the question because we broke the extensions. Yeah, but we did make it to the extensions, and the market was extending, so there's a possibility of a timing high. Or worst comes to worst, I find, or best comes to best, I find out that there was no timing, in which case I don't have to be concerned that this was a key high.
Hey, I am making money.
You making money?
We're dropping.
Oh, there you go. Well, good thing you didn't. Yeah, and I didn't get my long trigger. Here, you want to talk?
Well, this is still not the done deal. We are like a couple pips ahead, but that's really not that much. And most of you probably wouldn't exit with 2 pips. I would probably wait to get at least 5 or 10. So I am glad I didn't exit yet. That's why I said that if I get to a situation where I am seeing that my line becomes support, I would watch the 5-minute chart to see what's going on. And if we've got a really nice cycle low going up and we didn't get that cycle high, I would probably exit. But because we are getting cycle high on 5 minutes, that tells me that we have a potential to go down a little bit, and then I would watch for another cycle low. If I get cycle low and that's around my 10 pips, boom, I am out. I am not even thinking about staying in that trade, because I like to have my pips in my pocket, not at the broker's pocket.
Still looks like that previous high might be support for it.
Well, we haven't hit it yet, so it's impossible to say.
Yeah, we didn't really close above the line. We were just wandering there.
Well, we're actually right now at that. You're talking about that previous high. Yeah. So I mean, there's no way to know if it was acting as support until it's tested. So that's just happening. We shall see. I am doing our connect the dots 2-point timing tool stuff, and I'm not trying to get any kind of result. I'm just, as I'm doing it, I'm checking to see if we had overlaps here, and if not, or even if so, are there more overlaps in the future? And I'll just keep doing that with the different swings that I see. So far I've done high to high, low to low, high to low. Whatever else I see, I'm just going to keep connecting them. And also, since we're timing for termination of a rally, I could take a prior rally, or this one, and take it from the next low with the 3-point tool. And I'm either going to see that we put in a high with timing here, or that we have one coming up, or I'm going to see nothing. And a lot of the time when you do timing, it doesn't tell you anything. When it tells you something, it jumps out in your face, because you get those overlaps. Really, with a couple more bars here, it would be more interesting to do timing for a low, to time the termination of this decline. But there isn't enough information here yet. The market's not extending enough, and each prior decline, you sort of want to see a similar number of bars in prior declines. So I'd want to see a couple more bars here before bothering to time for a low. Let's see. Try that from here. 10 o'clock. No. It's really not looking that interesting. 9:30, we only have one. They're too spread out.
Actually,
There's-
can I say something?
Sure.
Because of the high that we have here, and because price is not actually going really fast for me, and I like action, I would get out at break even on this trade. I would not hold to it, because right now we are so undecided, and we went up a little bit, gave me a little, scare that we may go up. Now we are going down, however, we are not really progressing very well, and I don't like slow trades. I like to get in, I like to see movement, I like to get out. So at this point, I would rather have 0 pips than possible negative. We still can get those 10 pips on this trade, but it's very unclear at this point, so I would just say, okay, that's it for this trade. I would get out at break even, where we are right now, roughly.
And I agree with that just because, see, I'm still at my plus 100 line here, and I'm beginning to get a short trigger on my 3 minute, so this is meaningless to me. This is totally meaningless. For me to take a short trigger here, see it's setting up a 50-34, which is actually kind of triggering. See how shallow it is? It's not like it's crossed. You often see that when you have a conflict on the higher time frame. And the higher time frame is still looking like it could hook up at the plus 100 line. So there was never a trade here for me. And I'm agreeing with the idea that it's not going to move quickly. It's, you know, there's nothing set up. The timing isn't giving me anything definitive now. Let me show you what would have. You see here, where am I looking? 11 o'clock, we have a 618 from here to here, 618 forward. And 11:30, we have a 786 from a larger swing. Well, if we had an overlap at 11:15, if we had a timing ratio at 11:15, then you'd have one at 11, one at 11:30, and one at 11:15. So you could consider that coming together at 11:15. But these are separated by 2 bars, 11:30 and 11, so it's too vague. And the past stuff is not, you know, 8:15, 8:45, there's no 8:30. I can't seem to find another swing that's going to even give me another opportunity to look. So I'm going to negate the idea that timing is going to be of value, because I'm telling you, if it's going to be good, by the time you run 4 or 5 swings, you'll start to see something that's, aha, where it overlaps really clearly. And I'm hoping that before the end of the day we have one of those. The British pound thing yesterday, we had what I called minor timing because it was only 2.